and hope everybody has been enjoying the fine weather and that we've been lucky to have, and I hope it's going to be continuing tomorrow for Shabbat. And now it's a great pleasure for me to introduce Leigh Lewis, who's going to give us a Devar Torah.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Good evening, everybody. Nearly good Shabbos. Right. Prior to the giving of the Ten Commandments, the children of Israel were told to purify themselves. They had 3 days to purify themselves so they should be spiritually prepared to receive the Torah. But it wasn't just about being spiritually prepared to receive the Torah. They were also going to have this personal experience of meeting the Supreme King of Kings, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, having this personal experience with him, a one-to-one. So they had to be spiritually pure, clean, 100% perfect. This Shabbos is Parsha Parah, where the special reading comes from the beginning of the Seder of Chukat. It's the longest mafta there is. It's 22 verses, and it tells about the procedure to prepare the red heifer, the Parah Aduma. It's quite a strange routine, is that the heifer itself had to be red, not just look red. I think it's if there were 2 hairs on this animal that were at least 2 hairs that were not red, the animal was invalid. So it was really a real ginger animal. The animal was taken outside the camp with the group of people who were going to prepare it. There was Eliezer the priest, that there was someone to shecht it, someone to burn it, someone to collect the ashes, and all the people and all the ones involved outside the camp, they all became unclean. All the things they used became unclean and were either destroyed, or their clothes had to be washed, and the people themselves were unclean until that night, which is rather strange that something that was going to be used, the ashes of the red heifer, which were going to be used to purify people in other ceremonies when it came to contamination, or the thing with the procedure for the suspected adulteress, the sota, used the ashes from the red heifer, something that was going to purify everyone, and yet everything it came into contact with in its preparation contaminated it and made it unclean. Tradition tells us that from the time of that time until the destruction of the Second Temple, there were 9 red heifer ceremonies. But the point is, how could something that was going to cleanse everything contaminate everything else? There's obviously something far deeper than just it was the way it says it. So we have to look at something a bit more esoteric than just trying to say, oh, that's because the Torah says it. Why was the Torah saying it? What is curious, or what is interesting from my point of view, is that the gematria of the Parah Aduma is 335. Now, what is interesting is it's used in ceremonies to purify people, to try to get people back on the straight and narrow, to make them as they were at the time of the giving of the Torah. And the Torah was given on Har Sinai. And Har Sinai also has a gematria of 335. But at the Har Sinai experience, as I said, we were going to meet the King of Kings, the Supreme King of the universe. Melech Malchei HaMelachim, the Supreme King of Kings, the Ein Sof, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, a personal experience. What is also curious is Melech Malchei HaMelachim also has a numerical value, a gematria, of 335. So it would seem that the procedure for the Parah Aduma, wasn't just about cleansing people. It was trying to bring them back to a circumstance where they were as pure and as ready to receive the Torah again and to meet HaKadosh Baruch Hu and to follow in his ways. It's the only explanation I can find that makes sense to me. Even King Solomon couldn't find one. That doesn't make me wiser than King Solomon. It just means that maybe I think a bit differently. But it seems so that these three connections, all to do with something so mysterious, must be connected. The Porah Aduma was to bring people back to a state of complete and utter purity and complete and utter faith to meet HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Thank you. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Thank you so much, Leigh, for your inspiring Devar Torah. Thank you. And now it's a great pleasure to introduce David Harris.
Thank you, Rochelle, and thank you, Leigh. Very interesting. If you go for gematrias and that kind of thing.
Yes.
But really, that's very, I've never heard of that before. That's great, thank you. That's really very interesting. Okay, I take it we don't have the benefit of the rabbi's visual aid this afternoon.
No, I'm afraid not, David, no.
Okay, so you'll have to follow along as best you can.
Yes, we
and,
will, yes.
You know, if you can, and those in the front row, and you know, there was
Yes.
famously from somebody once famously said, and, those whichever row you're sitting in, rattle your jewelry and all that kind of thing. So we'll go through we'll start with you did nefesh, shall we?
Thank you.
Did nefesh av harachamam meshach avdecha el ratzonecha yarutz avdecha kemo hayom yishtachavel mol chadarecha Yerav lo yedidatecha minafetzu v'avatam Adonai ziv olam nafshi cholat avatecha Ana el narafana la leharod la Noam zivacha as titchazek v'titrafek v'hayitada simchat olam v'tikyamna rachamecha v'chusana al beinahu v'cha ki zachama nichsafti Lirob Tiferet Uzecha Eile Chamda Libi V'chusana Ve'el Titalam Igalena Ufros Chavivi Alai Eitzukat Shalomecha Taireres Michvadecha Nagila v'nismacha bach Ma'er elhav kiva moed V'chonenu imei olam Nine 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 999, 9999, you're the 999, you're the 9999, you're the 9999, you're the 9999, you're the 999, you're the 9999, you're the 9999, you're the 9999, 999, you're the 999. I am the 99 and the 99 and 999. I am the 99. Another 999 and 999. Another 9999 and the 9999 and the 999 and the 999. Yeah, the 9999 and the 9999 and the 999. Now we'll so for that. Now we're on to the Chun around the Nah. The first of the songs we say in the Kabbalat Shabbat service. Some traditions have it that the Chun around the Nah is recited alternate verses. And I remember when I was a bit younger than I am now, going to camp in Bnei Akiva, And this is how we used to sing it. We used to sing it alternate verses. And I also remember a friend of mine when BA were invited to a community in Manchester to take over the service. A friend of mine got married on Friday night, and he started with this alternate words business. That most of the honorary office there must have had heart failure. That somebody could break a tradition and institute a new way of deafening with such ease was not to their liking at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say it, and please say the alternate verses. And this is the tune we use. The Rialto Yishenu Nakatama Panna Bertoda Bismirot Narialo Kiel Gadolado Bella Gadolokal Elohim Asher Biado Mekaray Aretz Betafod Hamrim Lo Asher Lohayam Vehu Asar Yabeshet Yadav Ya Atarubo Nishachav Even Nichra Nivrachalif Me Adonai Oseinu Kihu Eloheinu Vanachnu Amarito V'tzon Yado Hayom in Bakoloti Ishma'u Atak Shulavavechem Kim Riva Kiyom Amasa Bamidbar Asher Nisuni Avon Teichem V'chanuni Gamra Ufali Arbaim Shana Akub Bedor V'Omar Amtei Levav Heim V'Heim Layadu Derachai Asher Nishpati B'Api Im Yavon Amnufati Shirul Adonai Shir Chadash Shirul Adonai Kol Haaretz Shirul Adonai Baruch Shemo Pasru Miyom LeYom Yeshuato Sapru Vagoyim Vavodo Ol Ha'amim Nifleotav Ki Gadol Adonai Hulal Meod Norahu Al Kol Elohim Nai Ki Kol Elohim Ha'amim Elilim V'Adonai Shamayim Asa Hod V'Hadar Lo Afamnav Ozet Tiferet B'Mikdasho Havul Adonai Mishpachot Amim Havul Adonai Kavod Va'oz Havul Adonai Kavod Shemo Seyu Mincha Uvo Lechatzro Tav 99 Ishtachavul Adonai Behadra Kodesh Chilu Mipanav Kol Haaretz Imru Vagoyim Adonai Malach Hafti Kontevel Baal Timot Yad Dinamim B'Meisharim Yismu Hashamayim Tagel Haaretz Yiram Hayam Umalo Yalo Sadai V'chol Hashebon Ay Az Yerananu Kolat Seyar Lifnei Adonai Kiva Lishbot Haaretz Yishbot Tevel B'Tzedek V'yamim B'Emunato Ay nine 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 ay nine 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 ay nine 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 ay nine 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 yum bum 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 bye Adonai Malach Tagel Haaretz Shachalula Kol Elohim Adonai Sinara Shemena Shel Chasidav Miyad B'Shayim Yatzilei Arzar La Sadik U'Yisraelei Simcha Simchut Tzadikim B'Adonai Ve'odu Lezecher Kodsho Mizmor Shir L'Adonai Shir Chadash Ki Lifnot Shafar Kari Lifnei Melech Adonai Yiramayam Umalo Evel Tevel v'yosh v'va'ayin nai harutim chachuchav yachad harim yiraneinu lifnei Adonai kiva yishbot haaretz yishbot tevel b'tzedek v'yamim b'nei shari Adonai malach yegzu amim yosheku Yodushim macha God of Rakadashim. Adonai Yanim Bamudanam Yedaber Aleim Shemu Adokav V'chot Natan Lamo Adonai Eloheinu Atanitam Eno Sayat Alahem V'no Keim Ala Lilotam Ramu Adonai Eloheinu V'ishtachavu Le'ar Kodsha Ki Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Mizmor LeDavid Avum Adonai B'nei Elim Avul Adonai Kahavod Va'os Avul Adonai Kavod Shemo Ishtachavu Adonai Be'hatra Kodesh Kol Adonai Oramayim Ela Kavod Hirim Adonai Almayim Al Mayim Rabim Kol Adonai B'Koach Kol Adonai Be'adar Kol Adonai Shover Arazim Vaishaber Adonai et Arzei Alvanon Fire Kidem Kamo Egel Levanon V'Sirion Kamo Venri'emim Kol Adonai Chotzef Lahavot Eish Kol Adonai Yachim Midbar Kol Adonai Midbar Kadesh Kol Adonai Echol Le'la Yalot Vayechesof Ye'aros U'echolo Kulo Amer Kavod Adonai Lamabul Yashav Vayeshev Adonai Melech Liolam Adonai Os Le'amo Yitain Adonai Yevarech Et Amo V'Shalom. Okay, up to we've reached L'Chadodi. This is the tune. Speaking of Bnei Akiva camps, this is the tune I first learned at a Bnei Akiva camp, as I say, a couple of years ago. Imagine my surprise, therefore, whenever it was we moved to Kenton, and I came to my first Friday night service in Kenton Shul. The Chazan at the time, Jeffrey Schuster, sang the same tune. I thought only Bnei Akiva sung it. It may have been he was a Madrich of Bnei Akiva as well. Maybe that's where he got it from. But anyway, you'll all know it. This is what I learned at Bnei Akiva, which now has become de rigueur in most shuls that I know. L'chadodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabala. L'chadodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabala. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Ishmi'anu elam yuchad, Adonai echad, U'shemo echad, L'shem u'tiferet v'litila. L'chadodi likra kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabala. L'chadodi likra kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabala. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nei lecha, ki makor habaracha, leirosh mikedem nesucha, sebatzek mashavat echila. Lecha dodi likra kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabala. Lecha dodi likra kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabala. Mikdash melech yemelucha, kol mitzay mitoch hafecha, rav lach shevet b'yemek abacha, v'uyachmol alayichem ba. L'cha dodi likra kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabala. L'cha dodi likra kala, B'nei Shabbat Mekabala. Ignari me'afarchu mi. Live shibidei tifarteich ami. Al yad ben Yishai beit alachmi. Karva el nashi geheyala. L'cha dodi likra kala. B'nei Shabbat Mekabala. L'cha dodi likra kala. B'nei Shabbat Mekabala. It orari, kiva ore, kumi ori, ori, sherda beiri, kavod Adonai Allah yitnila. L'cha dodi likra kala, b'nei Shabbat mekabala. L'cha dodi likra kala, b'nei Shabbat mekabala. It's become traditional to change the tune at this point. I notice Rabbi Black isn't with us tonight, so maybe wherever he is, he can hear us. Let's use the Chabad tune for change. Tune change. Let's use the Chabad tune behind Rabbi Black's back, so to speak. Lo tevoshi v'lo tikomi, ma tishtotachi u'matahemi. Bach yatsu aniyami, v'nivnata ir al tilam 999, l'chadodi likrakala, b'nei Shabbat nekabala, l'chadodi likrakala, b'nei Shabbat nekabala, v'hayu nimshisa shosayich, v'rachaku kol mevalayich, yasis alayich, Elohayich, Kimzot Chatan al Kalam 999 L'chado di likrakala B'nei Shabbat nekabala L'chado di likrakala B'nei Shabbat nekabala Ay Yami nusmo Tifroti V'yat Adonai Taritzi Ay Yadish Ben Parsi V'nisnacha v'nagila L'chadar di likrakala B'nei Shabbat nekabala L'chadar di likrakala B'nei Shabbat nekabala V'wi v'shalom ateret ba'ada Gam b'simcha u'v'sahola Tov chemunei am segula Bowie chala, 999, l'chadar di likrakala, b'nei Shabbat nekabala, l'chadar di likrakala, b'nei Shabbat nekabala. Do you want to say anything else, Rochelle, or do we move on to Yigdal?
Oh no, I'd love it if you've got an encore for us.
No, sorry, well, there you had enough of that. Well, start from the beginning again, you mean? All right.
Yeah, that's fine. I like that. And a few more stories about B'nai Akiva.
Oh no, you don't want to hear. Okay, so you haven't got any announcements to make or anything.
No, not really. No.
Who's giving the kiddush or anything? Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that's right. Yeah. So come along tomorrow, can't you?
So
if I might interrupt, the only announcement is that Shabbat comes in at 1807 and goes out at 1911.
Yes, Shabbat comes in tonight and goes up tomorrow, as opposed to most weeks.
That's right.
Okay. Okay. Well, let's go on to Yigdal then.
Okay. All right.
Yigdal Elohim Chai Nimsa v'yeinei Tziyutav Echad v'yein yachid K'yichudov Nelam v'gam ein sof li'avdutav Ein lo mutaguf v'yein no guf Lo nafroch elav kedushatov Kadmon m'chol davar Hashem yivra.
Didn't see that little arrow before.
Dino Adon Olam L'chol notzar Yoreh Gedulato U'malchuto Shefa Nevuato Netano El Anshe Sgulato V'Tifarto L'kam Yisrael K'mo she'od Navi U'mahabit Et Emunato Torah Temet Natam Niamoel, Al Yavio Neman Beto, Lo Yachalifael, Velo Yamidato, Leo Lamim Lazulato, so Favio Dea Setare, Numa Petus of Dava, Katmato, Go Milish Chesed, Go Mivalo, No Time Rashara, Karishato, Vishlak Kechamim, Mashiachenu, Lift up Machake, Shushuato, Medim Yamael, Baruch Chasto, Baruch Hadei Archim Tehilato, Medim Yechael, Baruch Chasto, Baruch Hadei Archim Tehilato.
Oh.
Shikaya.
Joy,
Joy,
David.
Joy,
Thank you so
David.
much.
Yeah.
So useful. Come back to Shabbat and